Welcome to this course where I will show you how I create my acrylic fluid art. First of all, the tools you need. Something to cover your desk because this is really messy, and actually if you have a way to contain the paint, it's even better. I use canvases that are really old and I use them upside down so they really become a container for the paint. Jars and brushes. And again, more jars and more brushes. I try not to use any plastic in my studio. I find that using jars that you can rewash is always better. And then a hairdryer. The paint you're gonna use for the artwork. Now we'll set up the wall table. Just make sure that everything around you is kind of covered, because when you will be using the hairdryer, loads of paint is gonna just fly away. So make sure that you're far away from things you want to protect. First of all, I set up my canvas and I put jars underneath so it's raised, because I also want to cover the sides very well and I don't want paint to just dry in an awkward place. So I always make sure that the jars are underneath the canvas and there is space on the sides for the paint to fall off. Now we're gonna create the colors. You just have to add water to your selected color. If you're using different colors from different brands, just make sure that all the colors that you're gonna mix are gonna be more or less of the same consistency. Otherwise, some paints might be a bit more fluid and others might be a bit more strong on the canvas and it's not gonna blend in very well. I always go quite slow when I'm creating the paint because I want to make sure that the quality of the paint that I'm creating and the color is always perfect and it's never too liquid or never too dense. Because I'm creating more than one color at the same time, I just want to make sure that the colors I'm creating are exactly the same consistency. And as I said before, the original color comes from a different brand, so all of them are of a different consistency. So I'm adding slowly a bit of water, mixing and making sure that there are no lumps of color. It's a slow process, but there is no rush here. Just take your time to mix the color, and the consistency has to be more than milk and less than a cream. It has to be something in between that you can mix, and when you put it on the canvas, it's not gonna go everywhere. So here I have some examples of jars that I have in my studio, and I want to show you what is the right combination of color and water. So the first one is very dense, way too dense, it's very hard even just to move it in the jar. Second one, still very dense. Now we're moving towards colors that are a bit more what we are looking for. This is absolutely way too liquid and it's not gonna go straight on your canvas, it's actually probably going to fly away as soon as you use a hairdryer. So now back to our canvas, I always make sure that the base color that I want to use is well spread on the canvas. And this is a moment where you have to decide what is the background color of your artwork, and just go in with a brush, put color on, and it takes time to spread the color quite evenly on the canvas. Also make sure to cover the sides as well. This is gonna facilitate the paint just to drop off on the sides. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the whole canvas has to be covered. Add as much as you need to make sure that the canvas is kind of covered with one layer of the base color. Now it's a moment for you to decide where the color is gonna come from in your artwork. So this is a rectangular artwork that I'm painting horizontally while it's gonna be a vertical canvas. So here I have some of the artworks that I've done before, and if you see, all of them have a point where you can definitely tell the hairdryer was coming from. So this really creates a movement, and based on the color you chose and based on the density of the color you chose, it's gonna create the artwork. So what I want to do with this artwork is I want to leave the left hand side, which is gonna be the bottom, very bright and using basically the background color, and then I'm gonna move everything on the top with the hairdryer. So I'm putting my colors, and then I use the hairdryer always set as maximum speed, but also with cold air, otherwise it's gonna be too messy. And then I make sure that the paint really reaches every part of the artwork. And because the paint is still very wet, so it's very easy for me now to add other layers to fix parts of the artwork that I don't really like, or to move the paint in other directions. I always make sure that the paint is dripping from the sides, so the edges are always covered. And you can use your hands here, just go in and touch the sides and you will see that the paint is just gonna go down by itself. And then I want to have the bottom part of the artwork a bit more bright, so I add more color and then I go in again with a hairdryer and spread it all around. I sometimes use a little brush just to break the lumps of color that are still on the canvas, and then also to move a little bit more the direction of the paint in places where I want it to go. You can also use your hands and it's absolutely fine. You can move the canvas in the direction where you want the paint to go. Always make sure that your sides are fully covered, and then our artwork is ready. What I really like about acrylic pouring is that you can really move the paint as much as you want and create amazing effects on the artwork. What I find really interesting with acrylic pouring is that when you use a color, blend it a little bit less with water and so it's a bit more dense on the artwork, then you will create very different sort of artworks based on how much water you put into your paint. And this is it. You can see there is a lot of movement, and as I said before, I always make sure that there is a one point of the artwork, there is a focal point where I tend to put the hairdryer on and just let it spread from there. I think the sides are one of my favorite parts because you can see really how the color is dripping down the canvas. I hope you found this video interesting, and if you have any question or any comment, please just let me know and I'll be happy to reach out to you. Thank you so much and have fun!